Podluck. And we've got a bunch of stuff for Podluck today. So we're going to talk about The Flash not getting... Barry Allen is still alive. He's not chokeslamming anyone in Hawaii right now, as far as I know. I haven't talked to Ezra Miller today, but if I had, I would ask him if he had chokeslammed anyone in Hawaii. So we've got news with his upcoming Flash movie. We've got news regarding Megan Thee Stallion and a very interesting story regarding the shooting with Tory Lanez back in 2020. And we've got... is it Kris Jenner?
Kris Jenner was called out for being entitled and rude.
Yes. So the Flash movie is rumored to bring back deceased superheroes, which creeped me the heck out at first until I learned how they were going to do it. But this really does tell me, like, between that, having Michael Keaton, they don't have any faith that Ezra Miller can carry this movie on his own, because this movie is not something that he can beat up. So he's not, I don't know. He's good at that. I don't know if he's any good at this. So it says
he's just running from his problems.
But the rumor mill is swirling with some buzz that the past superhero actors might be brought back in The Flash. Per TMZ, the latest rumor about DCU's highest profile superhero movie is that Superman star Christopher Reeve and Batman star Adam West will be making posthumous. I always forget how to say that. Posthumous. There we go. Posthumous. Appearances.
You're a posthumous.
Thank you. In the film, it is best to take these rumors with a grain of salt, with no official confirmation at this time. But it does seem plausible, given how Warner Brothers and DC are under a lot of pressure to have their version of the multiverse keep up with Marvel, which is what they shouldn't be doing, because as we've learned, that copying Marvel is not a recipe for success. You should be doing your own thing and focusing on you, not on your quote unquote competition. They shouldn't be seen that way. They should be seen as people in the same area, not necessarily competing forces. This isn't to say that fans should expect to see Reeves Superman or West Batman interacting with Ezra's titular superhero. The rumor is that they would only be appearing briefly, as the Flash is skipping through different universes. It would have made sense that no less than 2 different Batman actors are already confirmed to appear in the film. So they're stacking this movie with as many like notable celebrities as they can, because they're afraid of Ezra Miller just not having the star power. And obviously at this point now,
I hate this.
The controversy, he's got the bad press working against him. He's not in line to really carry this movie on his own.
I'm so sick of nostalgia films. I'm so like The Irishman is the biggest heap of shit I've ever seen. I Hollywood needs to stop trolling out its like geriatric actors and pretend they're badass. That movie was pathetic. It was a bunch of old guys, literally, like every step they take, they're closer to death.
Yep.
And it's visible. And I gotta pretend this guy's a monster's gonna kick my ass. I would slap him silly.
Yep.
Silly. And then now they want to do this, like member berries with Superman and Batman as well. Like, dude, just like get a decent actor and be done with this.
It's also annoying that they're going to bring back Reeves, who I love that iteration of Superman. But when you have Henry Cavill just waiting there wanting to work.
I'm for the generational battle to continue. Like, boomers need to leave professions. Give it to me. Give it to us. Dude, I've been working in social media for 10 years. 10 years. Every time I talk to the kiddies here, they teach me something about social media that I didn't know that I am applying, and now we're doing radically better. Every single industry needs to learn from this. Your time has passed. That is why media sucks. Move on.
Well, they're not even talking about using those actors. They're just talking about using archival footage.
I know. They want to do it so bad. They're going to use archival footage of dead people.
Resurrecting the zombie.
Right. They're going to resurrect a zombie to sell this movie.
It could be worse. They could be doing deep fakes, which is arguably worse.
They will.
No, they say that they're not going to do that here.
Eventually
for
they
this
will.
One. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, all of these, like, think about the amount of old actors that are going to keep getting work because they can just de-age them now. They're like, I don't need to hire a less bankable star if I can trot out Robert De Niro and de-age him by 30 years.
Is there just a shortage of younger actors? Good ones, I mean.
No. Arguably, what we talk about is that remember earlier we talked about celebrity worship and whether there is a shortage of stars with the same name recognition that those types of actors have.
How do you think that the previous ones got their name recognition?
But there's like 2 young stars now. It's Zendaya and Tom. Like, beyond that, like, I don't really know of anyone.
The idea is that
others.
I'm sure there are, but can you name them?
No.
Right? So there aren't.
It's not that there aren't; it's that there's just so many actors now, and you have access to so many people from so many mediums.
Think it's oversaturated.
It's oversaturated. Yes. There's way too many people in these industries that you kind of get to. We were talking about Ansel Elgort, who's like came under fire for the allegations against him. And somebody's like, I had one person say, who the hell is Ansel Elgort? And another person say, oh, the dude from Baby Driver. Like, it's just, there's so much media out there that
He's pretty big. He was in The Fault in Our Stars too. How did they not know?
Because podcasters are S tier now and actors are C tier.
Exactly.
It's true.
It is true.
It's true.
But back then, also remember that there's just so much media coming out now that they need more actors. Back when a Robert De Niro or an Al Pacino was in their heyday, only a certain amount of big Hollywood movies came out a year. You weren't getting a large cast of really well-received lower tier media, meaning like there was television shows on your basic networks and cable if you could afford HBO. But in general, those stars were the cream of the crop because they were the only ones getting that type of recognition. Now, whether it's social media, YouTube, movies, streaming, there's so many ways that you can become known that it's just too saturated to really have that level of star. You're kind of right about Tom Holland. I would say Robert Downey Jr. is still up there too for different reasons. Zendaya is a new age person who is on that level.
I think Tom Holland,
like, are young people just worse at acting?
No, they're incredible. And let me tell you why. Tom Holland is quite clearly a perfectly constructed product. This is not a person. This kid, a British accent, perfectly gentlemanlike, has all the right opinions. This kid is a fabrication. And that is like what he gets all the roles and that he gets.
Well, is he a studio fabrication or is he just a product of the homogeneity of modern society?
Both. People are sick of disingenuousness.
I would agree with that.
People are sick of it. That's why women love Jason Momoa. Because he's a big, good-looking stud that looks like he can kick your boyfriend's ass. And that's why they love him. You know?
And he talks like a surfer.
And he talks like a surfer, and he's he's dumb and passable. And so he is genuinely that, and that is genuinely what he plays. Perfection. DiCaprio, a guy who I think is a genuinely good actor, is always playing like the classy roles. You know, there's just a little bit more to him that meets the eye. He has that angle, but that angle by the day is clearly understood to be like carefully constructed.
Yeah.
Right. So people are sick of disingenuous. And the reason why we gotta revive corpses is because these corpses have at least the musk of genuineness that no one has now.
Yeah.
Besides podcasters, because they speak in long form, unedited for hours.
Yeah.
What seems to be unedited.
So
unedited. That was a hard word to say. Sorry.
To me, this is one of those things. I think you're right about that. It's that the disingenuousness of it is palpable, but it's also a product of the time they live in, where you're under constant scrutiny all the time. It used to be that an actor was under scrutiny from the studio if he said something bad during an interview, where realistically they could nix a question if they didn't want to answer it anyways, because it's not like it's live to TV. And when they went out into public, you would hope that they wouldn't run over a paparazzi photographer with their car, and that was the extent of their criticism. Maybe if they got divorced. Right now, as world events happen, these people are expected to have perfect opinions on literally everything
within seconds.
Seconds. That now,
if you're silent, that's a crime too.
I don't have that expectation of anyone.
But they do. But society does.
The society, or is it because like someone began the LARPing and they did it pretty successfully and everyone's like, I want that grift? I think that's what's happening. People don't know who they are. They don't know what they stand for at all. And to the 90% of people who are like that, they just embody the latest grift. And so now, as I'm saying, the vibe has shifted. The vibe is going to the other side. Now you gotta be paying attention of how the counterculture is gonna start to get this deep, disingenuous people like Piers Morgan.
Yeah, you're gonna get the people who will claim that they were always on this side of on this side of things, and it'll be plainly obvious to everyone who actually was part of that movement.
I hope you kept receipts.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, Megan Thee Stallion. Feared police after alleged Tory Lanez shooting. We're about to die, she says. So what happened was, if you guys don't remember, Tory Lanez basically shot at her outside. Should I just recap the story for
Please.
people? Okay, so they talk about it in the front of this. It says Lanez, whose legal name is Daystar Peterson, was charged in 2020 with shooting Megan Thee Stallion in the feet outside of a party in Hollywood Hills that July. The felony assault case is ongoing, and he was briefly jailed earlier this month after a judge said that he violated a protective order. The incident began as an argument because I was ready to go and everybody else wasn't ready to go, Megan Thee Stallion told King. But that's like normal friend stuff. We fuss about silly stuff all the time. Speaking through tears, she said, but I never put my hands on anybody. I never raised my voice too loud. Like, this was one of them times where it was like, I shouldn't have got this crazy. The rapper said she got out of the car and everything happened so fast. She suddenly heard a man screaming, "Dance," followed by an expletive directed toward her. And then he started shooting, and I'm just like, oh God, she recalled. He shot a couple times. I was so scared. I didn't even want to move. I didn't want to move too quick. I'm like, oh God, if I take a wrong step, I don't know if if he can shoot me something that's super important. Shoot me something
Somewhere
shoot
important.
something that's super important. So some part of her body that's super important. I don't know if he could shoot me and kill me. King asked Megan Thee Stallion if she was afraid for your life at the time. I was really scared because I'd never been shot at before, she replied, choking up. She said that Lanez offered her money in exchange for her silence in the aftermath, but police had already arrived on the scene. Quote, so many of them, including helicopters, and the rapper's first thought was, we're about to die. So she gets shot at by Tory Lanez, who, by the way, makes fantastic music. Shooting at people aside, I'm just saying.
Separate art from the artist.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Is if you got to do it.
As
you know,
we
right?
do here.
It's like I didn't hire him for to go as a professional shooter. It says including helicopters, and the rapper's first thought was, we're about to die. It says the George Floyd incident had just happened, and police were very much shoot first and ask questions after. I don't know if that's actually.
Yeah, that's totally what the vibe was, right?
I don't know if that's true. I've been shot. She said. I've been shot and they're about to kill somebody. Something bad is about to happen. So the police come to rescue you, theoretically, right? Because she's
from the person who just shot you.
From the person who just shot you. And look. I have no love for the state. I do not believe that you should just implicitly trust police because of some appeal to authority. I believe that this is the product of corporate media and a narrative that's been spun that is makes somebody so scared that she's less scared of the guy who just literally tried to shoot her than people who are there to help her.
This is the most insane part. I didn't want them to kill any of us or shoot any of us, so I just said I stepped on glass.
Yep.
Literally protecting the dangerous criminal who threatened your life.
So what do you guys think of this?
Like, I don't even know what to say.
I don't even know what to... when I read this, I was like...
For some mysterious reason, I was just trying to protect all of us. All of us.
Yes.
Listen. Oh my God.
I read this and I said, it feels like I'm taking crazy pills.
God help me.
He said dance, beep.
Yep.
Before he started shooting the ground at her feet.
Yeah, I want to...
And he's...
Anyone want to take an educated guess on what the beat was? I don't think so, right? Okay, listen. This is going to be the 7,000th time I said on the podcast. This isn't her opinion. This is a public relations person speaking for her.
Really?
Yes.
You don't believe...
Wasn't this a recorded interview?
I
mean, maybe it was.
But
maybe it was planned what she was going to say.
Don't go anywhere without having a call first from their publicist.
Wouldn't
especially
it have
today.
been more advantageous to say this at the time?
Didn't she?
This is
this is the first time
an old incident, but a new interview about it. But when the incident was happening, that's when it would have been advantageous to talk about these issues more so.
I mean, in our culture, it is advantageous to talk about this at any moment.
Yep.
But why wait? Why did she wait?
I mean, probably because she got shocked that it was shot at. It was kind of like traumatic, and maybe some real stuff would have gone in then. It's like these people are infinitely predictable.
No, she didn't say that. She said.
I mean,
It was all but said.
So I do find it funny that he offered her money.
She offered who money?
It says he offered her money to
Tory
stay quiet
Lanez.
before the cops got there.
Yeah.
So this happens. I read this story, and my only opinion is that it feels like I'm taking crazy pills.
It is. You are.
Why did he even do that if he didn't want to face consequences? Like I just don't understand the brain of somebody who does.
I just don't
that.
understand the brain. Like I don't think she went there. I don't think she went at like being shot at, seeing the police and be like, they're gonna kill me. So I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt because this is such a typical narrative that I'm like, this is just a publicist redirecting something and blaming it on the man, the blah, the beast, the bad, the whatever the day's villain is.
Now, here's the other funny part. This is a narrative that's been spun twice, because what she did is she wrote an op-ed ahead of the trial where she talks about how she was the victim of violence at the hands of a man.
Right.
So it's like I can spin it into 9 different to narratives that will all benefit my career.
Perfect. But here's how I'm saying this is why it's a publicist. So first take, man, not specific enough.
Yes.
Right? Because that can lead to the question, hey, what man?
Yeah.
Oops.
Law enforcement.
Can't say that. Can't say what actually happened. So it's time to remarket this. You know? I had this really terrible experience and I was feeling rather unsafe, but, you know, but then the cops came.
Yep.
And then is when me and my community felt unsafe.
Yep. So it really does feel like they took the first
Your
stab
community of millionaires.
Yeah. It really does feel like they took the first stab at packaging it and then did it again.
Rebrand.
Which makes me like, if you wonder why I'm so cynical sometimes, it's like that's what this all feels like to me. No, you talk about disingenuous, none of it feels genuine to me.
Because a lot of it isn't.
Yeah.
It's not. Like, dude, like, this is PR people. The whole social media is PR people referencing PR people, responding through PR with people as their pieces. You know, the chessboard doesn't move itself. You need a person to move it. We're just the pawns to like whatever like public relations whims are.
So is her lying about what happened to the cops? Does that make her complicit in her own assault?
Is that a criminal offense?
No,
you can lie. You can lie to the cops, right? You just can't lie to the FBI.
I don't think you're allowed to lie to law enforcement. Maybe it's just a federal agent. I don't know. But the reason I say this is because
she's not under oath. So.
That's what I'm saying.
Making a false statement to the police is a crime. But the point is that what I'm saying is here is she said that people asked her, they debated whether I played a role in my own violent assault. In the people's questioning whether she played a role in her own violent assault proves that her fears about talking about this were warranted, but did by lying to the cops about what happened and saying that she stepped on glass, does that make her, I'm actually asking this question, does that make her complicit in her own assault?
Yes.
Okay.
Because
she's protecting the assailant.
Her community.
Yeah.
Or what in terms of public relations is seen as her community. Her original statement was not vague enough because she tried to make it a woman versus man thing, but then the clarifying question got asked. Thus, the conversation needs to be removed. Who's another convenient villain? Police officers. Perfection.
After a lot of self-reflection on that incident, and what Dane would inquire as being, after a lot of discussion with my publicist team, with my team of publicists, I have realized that violence against women is not always connected to being in a relationship. She added. Instead, it happens because too many men treat all women as objects, which helps them justify inflicting abuse against us when we choose to exercise our own free will.
My original framing.
Yes.
Being once again brought up. This is men versus women. Again, but one layer of abstraction, clarifying question I was sure was made because we actually know the guy. and we know he did it, and thus
It'd be different if it was just some random.
obviously. So now, since we got a wokeify, we have to slightly reframe the conversation.
So what do we do in this case? Do we just like?
That's what I'm thinking. Like, what do you expect me to do with this information?
Nothing. We do nothing with it.
I don't know.
It's just psychological torture at
We
this
do nothing
point.
with it.
Yep,
It's
that's
like-
what it feels like.
You don't care, like if your assailant is like perfectly gone off. I don't either.
Yeah. Well, and
That's
then
what we do.
And then to a lot of people within this line of thinking, the logic is that by not by not speaking up, doesn't she put future people in danger? If whoever it is has a history of violence, aren't other people in danger by us not speaking up? Right. So I don't know where to go with it. Like I literally it doesn't feel like, what am I supposed to do with it? It's just everything is narrative.
Yeah.
Everything is framing something as one person good and one person bad.
Right.
There's never allowed to be any nuance. There's never allowed to be any type of compassion for another party. It's always one guy is good, one guy is evil, and I'm sick of it.
And here's again why I insist this is a publicist. When someone tells a story about themselves, they do it in the way of which they choose to be framed.
Oh, yeah, you will always portray yourself the best when you frame your own story about
Right.
what happened. Yeah, and
But this isn't that.
No.
This is the typical narrative. This is one of the typical narratives in our society. So that is either her own, intellect in like, I just want to reframe this conversation into something normie positive, or what it is, the remarketing of it.
Yep, and that's it. We are in the modern day. We have turned grievance and victimhood into not just a business, but a thriving and very, very profitable business. And Hollywood is at the forefront of that, and it's disgusting.
It's a business. It's a defense mechanism. It's a narrative establisher. It's anything you want it to be.
Yep, and
You don't have to exist. You don't have to be a person. There is an archetype person that's designed for you, and you can just read the script and go through your life thinking that you're living.
where do we go from here? What do we do to change it?
We celebrate White Boy Summer.
Perfect.
That's actually the solution, like for real.
Yeah, it's to have a moment of silly levity that's completely against popular culture.
Yep. And maybe that's all we can do. 'Cause, like,
This
sometimes
has been one of the most mentally taxing episodes.
That's why I love it.
I think sometimes, and I not to get too personal or weird with this. Sometimes when I'm compiling these shows, because these are things that I do think are important to talk about. I want to talk about. I wouldn't do this show or talk about these things if they didn't feel as if there was some type of answer, even if it's just an answer for myself and the people who watch, whether they hate what I have to say or what you guys have to say, or they love what we have to say. It's almost a byproduct, but it's like, I feel like these conversations are important to have, but sometimes I'm just like, at what cost? At what cost does constantly like talking about this stuff not become too much for us?
Listen, but like, we are blessed to have an audience, right? And I am blessed to have my professional experience as a marketing and advertisement professional. 10 years in the field. I've worked in political campaigns. I've worked for major multinational companies, and I've also represented like popular figures all across the world, right? So I know when something stinks of a 24-year-old marketing girl writing a script.
Yeah.
Because I've worked in that for years.
You've been a 24-year-old.
I have been
girl.
the 24-year-old
Yeah.
marketing girl writing a script.
Okay.
I have. Haha, funny. I'm not
Hubba hubba.
Right, but like, it is what it is. I just seen it. I know that 70% of the Twitter discourse is guys like me and girls like you who they pay to fight against each other.
Yeah.
Like, they told us what to fight about. It's like, Dane, tell Mary this line. And it's like, Mary, tell Dane this. It's like, we're not even. We're proxies for a war that's not happening.
Yep.
Do you think that like the curtain is being drawn back now and people are starting to realize that everything's fake, or no?
Here's what's happening. The curtain is being drawn back as the new curtain is being set in place. So how do magicians work? Magicians work through sleight of hand. Right now, we're seeing the curtain open and we're like, whoa, isn't this crazy? But upstairs where all the action's happening, the actual new curtain's being pulled in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's happening.
Well, I don't know where it goes from
So
here.
there's no hope, basically.
Yeah.
There is hope, but it's like the people that are constantly vigilant and skeptic must remain constantly vigilant and skeptic.
Well, I guess that's why
And
we're
that is
here.
what it is. Normies, sorry, you're destined to your fate of being absolutely freaking pathetic. And that is what it is. Recognize yourself, love your individuality. Go for something unique. That is your salvation through this culture. Nothing else.
There are days where I miss it, or I miss being ignorant of like just how corrupt, whether it's the media, whether it's just how much of the world we're given every day that's shaped in the form of narrative discussion, because all of our information comes through social media or some type of media produced entity, which is not the same thing as person to person contact or actually talking to someone in the real world, or whether it's what you know about the corporate media, all those things. I miss being blissfully ignorant of the way the world worked, because it was just simpler. I mean, I would argue that I was probably more self-destructive at that time, because I don't know if that's a byproduct of that environment, but like there are times, like I said, when we're looking at this stuff and I'm just like, really?
Being uniquely and thoroughly yourself is the only salvation through our culture of vapid emptiness. It is the only way.
Mm-hmm.
It's
interesting. You think that the happenings of the internet are like between PR script to PR script, but then Shane was saying
No,
it's
Mary.
bot to bot.
I know for a fact that
But
I know for a
are
fact
they
that
bots?
when there are the combination of bots and people who literally pay their bills by marketing firms hiring them to be trolls, and they're given scripts every day.
Mm-hmm.
They're given scripts every day of what they're allowed to fight about and fight against. And there used to be telltale signs of this, where you would see the Twitter account and you were like, made in 2008, 2 days ago, and
Joe
it's
Schmo 32.
right?
It's
Like
always Joe Schmo.
loverofx.com, warriorforblah.com. You've seen a blah blah fan, whatever.
Yeah.
We've seen a bunch of it. Now they're more sophisticated, and the accounts, they're a bit older and thus more convincing. And they know that they have to curate their feeds, and they're going to automate it. We are in the age where authenticity is the capital, because they're going to be able to fake anything and everything about us. So that's why you have to be authentic, so people get the vibe of who you are. If someday tomorrow a deep fake of Dane Font came out and it was like, guys, I think we just need to talk about our fifis and like the experience of, I don't know, your favorite minority actor across Hollywood, you'd know that that's probably not me. However, if you got that same thing from Sandra Bullock and it wasn't her, you'd be none the wiser.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you got to be yourself at all times.
And everything else is just an ever shrinking, like Russian matryoshka doll.
There you go.
Essentially, yeah, of
Yep.
yourself.
It's never ending. You never get to the bottom of it. It's never ending layers of lies.
That's what it is. So let's finish the day on a brighter note, shall we?
Let's try.
Yes.
Kris Jenner is facing backlash for being rude to her driver, and the article says, and I agree with the criticism, TBH. So I refuse to say, to be honest.
You'd
So
rather say TBH?
I would rather not say either of them.
Chloe Chick
I would rather- I
was
would-
A plus 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 plus.
What I think is funny about this is the first part. It says, I don't know about y'all, but one of the biggest pet peeves is when famous and rich people are rude. Like, it costs $0.00 to be
I
polite
can't believe that someone at BuzzFeed is like paid $50K a year to do this.
I get annoyed when people who are of any tax bracket are rude to each other because it takes $0.00 to be. When I read this as like, it's okay to punch up. So if she wanted to be rude to someone, that's okay because she's not rich like the Kardashians. That always reeks of envy to me. Okay.
Well, I guess their point is just that like Kris has some delusion that she can be rude to someone of a lower class than her.
do we also not give somebody the benefit of the doubt that maybe if like something like this hasn't come out before, that this is not their normal behavior they're having? Like that was me. I was the sucker when I worked back in the day at like my earlier jobs in retail. They're probably just having a bad day. Yeah, that might be true for some of them. Some of them might just be assholes. But I always gave them the benefit of the doubt because it hurt my soul too much not to. It's too against who I am to not give people the benefit of the doubt most of the time, right? So
I think the biggest show of character is people how they deal with animals, children, and people at service industries.
Yes.
Because it is 3 demographics of individuals that where the power relationship is deeply skewed in your favor.
yes.
And when given power, even if it's minute and temporary, how do you react?
Yep.
Is this a person that like shuns waiters and like, my order, my fritatas, I need them now? Like, I don't think that person is a moral paragon if they do that.
So it's they talk about how they were visiting Chloe in New York. They were visiting to support Kim's upcoming Saturday Night Live appearances. And Kris tells Chloe she needs to end her call with her daughter. True. She then asks the driver to get out of the car because they needed to have a private conversation. Sir, can I ask you to leave us alone for 5 minutes? She said, which is like, okay, not the rudest, but a little weird phrasing. So this is one of those things. I'm always very hyper aware of like how things are phrased, but I tend to give people the benefit of the doubt. Like I would have phrased it differently, but that I'm also more timid.
It sounds like something she would be saying if the guy was like bothering them a little bit, but he literally was just sitting there in silence, not doing anything.
She's,
Like, can you leave us alone for 5 minutes?
Yep. However, once the
In his car,
Yeah.
you know? No, I can't. Anyway,
However, once the driver stepped out, Kris said, "Is his window rolled up?" Chloe said, "Yes, but the trunk is open." She immediately yelled, "Close the trunk!" to the driver in a loud voice, not a please or a thank you to be found. If that was me, I would have felt like there have been like only a few times in my life I can remember where I didn't say please or thank you after something, and I got like weird hives and like had to like make it known later, or like if it doesn't happen I get really uncomfortable just because that's how I was raised to phrase things that way, right? So it's like maybe that's like you said, that's power. The power dynamics of this are so widely skewed, and she's a powerful person who's in the middle of a very important call. I would like to think that maybe she apologized to the
She
guy
wasn't
later.
in the middle of anything important. She just wanted to tell Chloe that Travis Barker was about to propose to Courtney.
Okay, so
Like, that literally was it.
so she's having a bad day. She does, and I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt. Like, you know, she's probably like this to people all the time, right? But
I hope not, but
you would
likely.
hope they're not. But you really should pay attention to how you talk to people. It's the reason why, I've told the story about like holding a door for the random time when I was the first thing where I had an inkling that there was something going on in the world was the woman who got really mad at me for holding a door open for her.
What did she say again?
She's like, the next time you want to hold the door open for a perfectly able-bodied female, how about you just don't? And then just walks right past me. And I'm such a timid, like I had my eyes down. I wasn't looking. I just hold the door for whoever the hell's behind me because it's awkward to close the door in someone's face.
Yeah.
And just, it costs you
mind-blowing levels of...
It costs you nothing to be polite, whether you're rich or poor.
You just know that she like planned that in her head before.
she's been practicing on the mirror for weeks.
Yeah.
Like,
And then everybody clapped.
Yeah.
loser.
That's what she's thinking. It's like that, but that was that first kind of notion to me that maybe things were going in the wrong direction in society. So I can always thank my old bank back in Minnesota for being the place where that happened.
Mine was being in my master's degree, and it was like 2 weeks after you know whose election, and there was a guy with a sign in front of the gym saying you can slap me for my white privilege. And I went up to him and I was like, can I slap you for your white privilege? And he was like, no, for you're a white male.
Yeah.
I was like, if I pull an ID from Puerto Rico, can I slap you?
What do you say?
He was like, there's no way.
Okay.
And I'm like, if I do, can I slap you? He was like, I guess. And then I pulled it out. And he didn't say anything. He just braced for the slap.
You're kidding.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm not going to slap you, you freaking idiot.
Yeah.
Oh
The world we
my
live in now,
gosh.
man.
But I should have. That's my biggest regret in life. I should have slapped the shit
People
out of him.
are so deranged.
we are in a. I think there's mounting evidence that we are in like a new timeline, and so like something happened.
And the timeline began again. I don't know if you saw Shane's tweet, but Shane was like the Higgs boson collider. Like, didn't it get
Yeah,
turned on again?
large hadron collider. Yep.
Yep. Well, we're back at it. New
maybe-
timeline. New timeline. Woo.
Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.